Let's be honest for a moment. Have you ever been jolted awake in the dead of night by a sudden excruciating pain in your leg? A lightning bolt of agony that feels like your calf muscle is tying itself into the world's tightest, most painful knot? That dreadful Charley horse that just won't quit, leaving you massaging your leg in the dark, wondering what on earth just happened? If this sounds familiar, I want you to know you are far, far from alone. In fact, studies show that up to 60% of adults, that's more than half of us, are ambushed by these nighttime leg cramps. And for many, it's not just an occasional nuisance. It can be a nightly battle that robs us of our precious sleep. But what if I told you that these cramps and that general feeling of weakness or instability in your legs that you might also be noticing are not just random attacks? They're signals. They're clues your body is sending you about a deeper issue that most of us, and sometimes even our doctors in their busy 15-minute appointments, can overlook. And if you've been telling yourself, well, this is just what getting older feels like, I am here today to respectfully and powerfully challenge that idea. Because accepting weakness and pain as inevitable is one of the biggest mistakes we can make for our long-term health and independence. In the next 25 minutes, we are going on a deep dive. We're not just scratching the surface. We're going to uncover the 10 hidden culprits behind leg cramps and muscle weakness. And we'll finish by revealing the top 3 simple, delicious foods you can add to your grocery list this week to start fighting back, rebuilding your strength, and reclaiming your peaceful nights. So grab a cup of tea, get comfortable, and let's get started. Hello and welcome. Today we're tackling 2 of the most frustrating issues that can creep up on us as we get older. Those painful leg cramps that ruin our sleep, and the gradual loss of muscle strength that can make us feel less stable, less confident, and less independent. Our ambitious goal today is to give you a complete, practical blueprint to address both of these issues, starting from the inside out. Now, to do this, we're not just relying on old wives' tales or the latest internet fads. We'll be drawing on solid research and guidelines from some of the most trusted names in American medicine, including the world-renowned Mayo Clinic, the brilliant minds at Johns Hopkins Medicine, and the experts at the U.S. National Institute on Aging. These are institutions dedicated to helping us live longer, healthier lives, and their guidance is the foundation of everything we'll talk about today. Here's how we're going to do it, so you know exactly what to expect. First, we're going to play detective and count down the top 10 hidden culprits that contribute to leg cramps and muscle weakness. From number 10 all the way down to the number 1 most important cause. For each one, we'll explore the why behind it in simple terms. And most importantly, I'll give you a simple, practical action step you can take. Then, once we understand the real problems we're trying to solve, we'll reveal the top 3 foods that act as a powerful, natural solution to these issues. You'll definitely want to stick around for culprit number 5. It's a condition that affects 1 in 3 adults over 60, yet it's rarely discussed in detail. And the top 3 culprits are the real game changers that lead directly to our grocery store solutions. And of course, a quick but very important reminder, I am not a doctor, and this video is for informational and educational purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional medical advice from your own physician or healthcare team. Always, always consult your personal healthcare provider for any questions about your health and before making any changes to your diet, lifestyle, or medication regimen. They know you and your health history best. All right, are you ready? Let's begin our countdown with culprit number 10. Coming in at number 10 is something that might be sitting right in your bathroom cabinet. We're talking about the side effects of common and often life-saving medications. Many of us take prescriptions to manage conditions like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, or asthma. And while these drugs are vital, they can sometimes have unintended consequences for our muscles. So why does this happen? Let's look at a couple of common examples. Diuretics, which many people know as water pills, are fantastic for helping to lower blood pressure. They work by helping your body get rid of excess salt and water. But in that process, they can also flush out essential minerals that your muscles desperately need to function correctly. Minerals like potassium and magnesium. When these levels drop, your muscles can become irritable and prone to cramping. Another example is statins, the widely used cholesterol-lowering drugs. While they are incredibly effective for heart health, a known side effect for some people is muscle pain, and yes, cramps. The exact reason isn't perfectly understood, but it's thought that statins can interfere with a key enzyme in muscle cells, affecting their energy production. I think of my friend Carol. She was in her late 60s and started a new blood pressure medication. Like clockwork, about a week later, she began waking up with terrible calf cramps. She thought it was just a coincidence. Maybe she'd overdone it in the garden. But the cramps persisted. Finally, she mentioned it to her pharmacist when she went to pick up a refill. The pharmacist's eyes lit up with recognition. He explained the connection between her new diuretic and the loss of key minerals. It was a simple 5-minute conversation that solved a month of painful nights. So what's your action step here? It is absolutely not to stop taking any of your prescribed medications. They are important. Instead, your job is to become a health detective. Get a small notebook and keep a simple journal. Write down when your cramps started, how often they happen, and how severe they are. Then, look at your calendar. Did the cramps begin shortly after you started a new prescription or changed a dosage? At your next doctor's visit, bring that journal with you. Don't just say, "I'm having leg cramps." Say, "My leg cramps started on this date, and I'm wondering if any of my medications could be contributing to them." It's a specific, informed question that helps your doctor help you. Now for the red flags. It's critical to repeat. Never, ever stop taking a prescribed medication without speaking to your doctor first. That can be very dangerous. However, if you develop severe cramps or other concerning new symptoms immediately after starting a new drug, that's a reason to call your doctor or pharmacist right away for advice. So we've looked at what you put in your body, but what about what you don't put in? That brings us directly to our next culprit, something many of us are guilty of every single day. Coming in at number 9 is one of the simplest and most overlooked causes of muscle cramps: chronic, low-grade dehydration. You might think, "Oh, I drank plenty of fluids." But you might be surprised. Here's the simple science behind it. Think of your muscles and the cartilage in your joints like a kitchen sponge. When that sponge is well hydrated, it's plump, it's squishy, it's flexible, and it works beautifully. It can bend and move without any issue. But what happens when you let that sponge dry out on the counter? It becomes stiff, hard, and brittle. Your muscles are the same way. When they don't have enough water, they lose their flexibility and become irritable, making them much more likely to seize up and cramp. Furthermore, dehydration concentrates the electrolytes, the salts and minerals, in your blood. This disrupts the delicate electrical balance your body needs for your nerves to communicate properly with your muscles. I'm reminded of my own father, a wonderful man named Bob. He swore up and down that he drank plenty of fluids all day long. And he did. But his fluids consisted of 3 cups of strong black coffee to start his day, followed by a big glass of iced tea in the afternoon. What he didn't realize is that caffeinated beverages can act as diuretics, just like those water pills we talked about. They can actually cause you to lose more fluid through urination than you're taking in. He couldn't figure out for the life of him why his legs always felt so tight and achy by the late afternoon. The answer was simple. He was in a constant state of mild dehydration. Your action step for this one is beautifully simple. Go out and get yourself a 32-ounce water bottle. You can find them anywhere. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to fill it up in the morning and make it your goal to finish it by lunchtime. Then, refill it and aim to finish it again by dinner time. The key is not to chug it all at once. It's about steady, consistent sipping throughout the day to keep that sponge plump and happy. And remember, for this goal, water is the target. Coffee, tea, and soda, while they contain water, don't count toward this specific hydration total because of the other ingredients they contain. As for red flags, if you're experiencing signs of dehydration, like a very dry mouth or dark-colored urine, and it's accompanied by symptoms like confusion, extreme dizziness, or a rapid heartbeat, that's a sign of a more serious issue that warrants immediate medical attention. Staying hydrated keeps your muscles flexible, but flexibility also requires active movement. That leads us directly to culprit number 8, which is all about what we don't do. Our number 8 culprit is something we all know we should do, but very few of us actually make a daily habit: stretching. Specifically, we're talking about the problem of having short, tight tendons and muscles. Here's why this is so critical as we get older. Our tendons are the tough, fibrous bands of tissue that connect our muscles to our bones. Think of them as the ropes that pull on our skeleton to create movement. As we age, these tendons naturally lose some of their water content and elasticity. They can start to shorten. If we don't actively work to keep them long and pliable through regular stretching, they can exert a constant, low-grade pull on the attached muscles. This essentially preloads the muscle to cramp at the slightest provocation, especially when we're at rest in bed and our muscles are relaxed. I remember a story about a woman in our local community. Her name was Charley. She was a nightly cramp sufferer for years. It was so bad it was destroying her sleep. Her doctor, before suggesting any medications, gave her a simple, non-negotiable piece of homework. Every single night before she got into bed, she had to spend just 3 minutes doing 2 simple calf stretches. She was skeptical, but she was also desperate. To her amazement, within 1 week, her nighttime cramps were cut in half. By the end of the month, they were almost completely gone. It was that simple, yet that powerful. So here is your action step, and I invite you to try this tonight. Before you get into bed, stand facing a wall, about an arm's length away. Place both of your hands on the wall for support. Now, step your right foot back, keeping that leg straight and making sure your right heel stays flat on the floor. Gently lean forward, bending your left knee until you feel a nice, gentle stretch in your right calf muscle. Hold that position for a slow count of 30. Don't bounce, just hold the stretch. Then, switch legs and do the same thing on the other side. That's it. Make it a non-negotiable habit, just like brushing your teeth. The red flag here is simple: pain. Stretching should feel like a gentle pull or tension, never a sharp, stabbing, or tearing pain. If you feel that, you've gone too far, so ease up. And as a reminder, if you get a cramp that lasts for more than 10 minutes and doesn't get better even after you try to stretch it out, that's a good reason to check in with your doctor. Stretching keeps our muscles ready for action. But what happens when the very system that tells them to take action starts to misfire? Let's talk about culprit number 7. Coming in at number 7, we're moving from the muscles themselves to the system that controls them, our nerves. The cause here can be age-related changes in nerve activity or even physical nerve compression. Let's break down the science. Our nerves are like the electrical wiring of a house. They run from our brain and down our spinal cord. branching out to every single muscle in our body, carrying the signals that tell them to move. As we get older, this intricate wiring can become a little less efficient. Sometimes, nerves can become overexcitable and fire off signals abnormally, especially when we're sleeping. This can cause a muscle to contract forcefully and unexpectedly, leading to a cramp as the problem is more mechanical. Think of a garden hose with a kink in it. The water flow becomes unpredictable and sputters. A compressed nerve is very similar. A common condition in older adults is lumbar spinal stenosis, which is a narrowing of the canal in your lower back that the nerves pass through. This narrowing can put pressure on, or kink, the nerves that travel down to your legs, making them irritable and prone to causing cramps. There's a classic story that illustrates this perfectly. A gentleman named Frank was plagued by leg cramps, but he noticed a peculiar pattern. They got much worse when he was walking, but they felt significantly better if he leaned forward, like when he was pushing a shopping cart at the grocery store. This was a textbook clue that pointed his doctor toward investigating his lower back. That forward-leaning posture opened up just enough space in his spinal canal to relieve the pressure on the nerve. Once his spinal stenosis was properly managed, his leg cramps improved dramatically. Your action step here is one of pure observation. Pay attention to the patterns of your cramps. Do they only happen at night when you're at rest, or do they also happen when you walk or stand for a long time? Are they accompanied by any other sensations, like numbness, tingling, or a feeling of weakness in your legs? Make a mental note, or better yet, jot it down in that journal we talked about. And this brings us to a very important red flag. If your leg cramps are consistently accompanied by persistent numbness, tingling, or weakness in your legs, or if the pain reliably gets worse with walking, this is not something to just live with. These are clear signals from your body to schedule a visit with your doctor to investigate a potential nerve-related issue. So we've covered the body's electrical system. Now, let's talk about the plumbing, the highways that deliver fuel and oxygen to your muscles. This is culprit number 6. At number 6, we're talking about circulation, or more specifically, reduced blood flow to the leg muscles. Here's the analogy. Your muscles are like high-performance engines. To run properly, especially when you're asking them to work, they need a constant, rich supply of fuel and oxygen. That fuel is delivered by your blood through your arteries. However, a condition called peripheral artery disease, or PAD, can cause a narrowing of those arteries due to plaque buildup. This is very common as we age. When this happens, the highways to your legs become more like clogged country roads. When you're resting, the blood flow might be just enough. But when you start walking or exercising, your muscle engines demand more fuel than your narrowed circulation can deliver. When they don't get it, they protest, and that protest often comes in the form of painful cramps. This specific type of cramping is called claudication. My own uncle, a proud man who loved his daily walks, started noticing a frustrating pattern. He could walk about 2 blocks, and then his calves would start to ache and cramp so badly that he'd have to stop and rest on a bench. After a minute or two, the pain would completely disappear, and he could walk another 2 blocks before it happened again. He just thought he was getting old and out of shape. But what he was describing was a textbook sign of poor circulation that his doctor was able to identify and help him manage, allowing him to get back to his walks with much less pain. So your action step is, once again, observation. Notice if your cramps are triggered by a predictable amount of exercise, like walking a certain distance or climbing 1 flight of stairs, and then consistently go away with a few moments of rest. Also, take note of other potential signs of poor circulation, like if your feet are often cold to the touch, or if you have any sores on your feet or lower legs that seem to be taking a very long time to heal. The red flag here is very clear. If you are experiencing that classic pattern, cramping pain in your calves, thighs, or buttocks that reliably occurs with exercise and is just as reliably relieved by rest, this is a major sign of potential circulation problems. You should absolutely discuss this with your healthcare provider. It's a very manageable condition, but it needs to be properly diagnosed to prevent more serious problems down the road. Now, we're about to make a big turn. We've talked about some of the systems that support your muscles, but what about the muscles themselves? What if the very foundation of your strength is getting weaker? That brings us to the top half of our list, and this is where things get really interesting. Okay, let's just pause and take a quick breath. We're halfway through our countdown of the 10 hidden culprits. So far, we've uncovered some major ones: sneaky medication side effects, the invisible dehydration trap, forgetting to stretch, those misfiring nerves, and sluggish circulation. The common thread connecting all of these is that they are often silent issues that can add up over time to cause real problems. Now, are you ready for the top 5? This is where we get into the real game changers, the things that directly impact the health, the size, and the very function of your muscles. This is where you have the most power to make the biggest difference. And by the way, if you're finding this deep dive helpful and you're having some of those aha moments, it would mean the world to me if you take just 1 second to tap that like button right below the video. It's such a small click for you, but it's a huge signal to YouTube that this is valuable information, and it helps other folks in our community find this video. Thank you so much for that. All right, let's dive into the top 5, starting with the big one at number 5. Coming in at number 5 is a word you may not have heard before, but it is critically important for every single person over the age of 60. The word is sarcopenia, and it is quite simply age-related muscle loss. This is the big one, folks. Sarcopenia is the gradual, progressive loss of muscle mass, strength, and function that happens as a natural part of aging. It can technically start as early as our 30s, but the process really picks up speed after age 60. After that point, research shows we can lose up to 1 to 2% of our muscle mass every single year. Now, this isn't just about how we look in the mirror. It's about how we function in the world. Weaker muscles are more easily fatigued. They provide less support for our joints. They make us less stable, and they are far, far more prone to cramping. Sarcopenia is the underlying reason why activities that used to be effortless, like getting up from a low armchair or carrying in all the groceries in one trip, now feel like a major physical challenge. I was once speaking with a geriatrician from Johns Hopkins Medicine, and she said something that has stuck with me ever since. She said, "Muscle is the organ of longevity." She told me about a patient of hers who was very focused on losing weight and was thrilled to see the number on the scale go down. But a body composition test revealed a harsh truth. She had lost precious muscle, not just fat. She ended up weaker, more prone to falls, and her body mass index, or BMI, looked healthy on paper, but her body was actually frail. It was a powerful wake-up call that muscle is our health currency as we age. It's what keeps us strong, stable, and independent. So, what is our number 1 defense against sarcopenia? It is resistance training. Now, please, don't let that phrase scare you. This does not mean you have to go to a gym and become a bodybuilder. It can be as simple as doing sit-to-stands from a sturdy kitchen chair. That's a squat. It can be using simple resistance bands while you watch television. It can even be doing bicep curls with soup cans. The goal is simply to challenge your muscles enough to send them the signal, "Hey, we still need you. Stick around." Aim for 2 to 3 sessions a week that make your muscles work a little harder than they're used to. A red flag for sarcopenia is a change in your functional ability. If you've noticed a significant decrease in your strength, if you're having real trouble lifting things you used to handle easily, like a bag of dog food or a gallon of milk, or if you've had one or more falls recently, it's time to have a serious and direct conversation with your doctor about sarcopenia. It's a real diagnosable condition, and it's something you can fight back against. Fighting sarcopenia with exercise is half the battle. The other half is giving your body the raw materials it needs to build and defend that muscle. And that brings us directly to culprit number 4. At number 4, we have the protein gap, or more simply, not eating enough protein to defend your muscles. Here's the science. Think of protein as the actual bricks you need to build and repair the wall of your muscles. The numbers on this are startling. Some research has estimated that a shocking 40% of people over the age of 70 do not get the daily recommended amount of protein. I think of my own mother-in-law's diet in her later years. It was often a piece of toast for breakfast, maybe a small salad for lunch, and a very small piece of chicken for dinner. She was a woman of small appetite, but she was unintentionally starving her muscles of the very building blocks they needed to stay strong and resist sarcopenia. Your action step is to make a conscious effort to include a good source of protein with every single meal. A common recommendation from experts for older adults is to aim for about 20 to 35 grams of protein at each meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now, what does that actually look like on a plate? It's more achievable than you might think. It could be 2 or 3 eggs for breakfast. It could be a generous scoop of protein-packed Greek yogurt for a snack. Or it could be a 4-ounce piece of chicken, fish, or lean beef for dinner. That's about the size of a deck of cards. A red flag here is if you're experiencing noticeable muscle loss, along with a chronically poor appetite, unintended weight loss, or a deep sense of fatigue that you can't shake. This could be a sign that you're not getting enough nutrients overall, or perhaps not absorbing them properly. And it's absolutely crucial to talk to your doctor or a registered dietitian about it. So we've covered the bricks needed for the wall. Now let's talk about the electricity that makes the whole system work. This brings us to our top 3 culprits. 3 essential minerals. They're the secret to stopping cramps in their tracks. Starting with number 3. Our number 3 culprit is all about a mineral we think we know well, but whose role in our muscles is often misunderstood. We're talking about calcium. We've all had it drilled into us since we were kids. Drink your milk for strong bones. And that's 100% true. But calcium is also absolutely critical for our muscles. Here's the simple version of how it works. For a muscle to contract, it needs an electrical spark. Calcium is that spark. When your brain sends a signal down a nerve to a muscle, it triggers a flood of calcium ions into the muscle cells. This flood of calcium is what causes the muscle fibers to slide together and contract. It's the fundamental trigger for every movement you make. No calcium, no contraction. If your body's calcium levels are low, or if the system that regulates it is out of balance, this signaling process can get messy, leading to involuntary spasms and cramps. The best analogy is an old car with a faulty spark plug. Sometimes it starts right up, sometimes it sputters and coughs, and sometimes it just won't turn over at all. When your calcium signaling is off, your muscles can act just as erratically. Your action step is to ensure you're getting enough calcium-rich foods in your diet. We all know about the dairy sources, like milk, yogurt, and cheese, but don't forget about other great sources like dark leafy greens, especially spinach and kale, and fortified foods like certain orange juices or cereals. But here's a crucial second part to that action step. You also need to make sure you're getting enough vitamin D. Think of vitamin D as the key that unlocks the door, allowing your body to properly absorb and use the calcium you eat. You can get vitamin D from sunlight and from foods like fatty fish and fortified milk. For calcium issues goes beyond diet. While a dietary deficiency is common, a severe deficiency can be linked to other health issues. If you have a history of kidney problems or issues with your parathyroid gland, or if you experience unusual symptoms like numbness and tingling around your mouth or in your fingers and toes, you should definitely discuss your calcium levels with your doctor. So, calcium is the spark that starts the muscle engine. But what happens when you can't turn the engine off? That's where our number 2 culprit comes in, and it's the other, equally important, half of the equation. At number 2, we have the miracle mineral for muscles, magnesium. This is your muscle's off switch. This is one of the most powerful concepts to understand for preventing cramps. If calcium is the on switch that makes a muscle contract, magnesium is the essential off switch that allows it to relax. It is the great relaxation mineral. Here's how. After calcium floods the muscle cell and does its job of causing the contraction, magnesium steps in. It acts like a bouncer at a club, helping to usher the calcium ions back out of the cell. This allows the muscle fibers to let go, release, and relax. If you don't have enough magnesium available, it's like the off switch is broken. The calcium hangs around inside the muscle cells for too long, leaving them in a state of partial contraction, tight, tense, and primed to go into a full-blown cramp. And here's a fascinating piece of the puzzle. Some research suggests that our body's magnesium levels naturally dip during the night, following our circadian rhythm. This could be a major reason why so many of us are ambushed by leg cramps while we're trying to sleep. It's as if our body's own natural muscle relaxant is in short supply right when we need it the most. For many people, simply addressing this one mineral can be absolutely life-changing for their sleep quality and comfort. Your action step is to start consciously adding more magnesium-rich foods to your daily diet. We're talking about delicious and easy-to-find foods like nuts, especially almonds, seeds like pumpkin and sunflower seeds, whole grains, beans and lentils, and of course, dark leafy greens. And don't worry, we're going to get to a powerhouse food for this in our top 3 countdown in just a moment. The red flag for magnesium is mostly about supplementation. While magnesium supplements are very popular, it's important to know that taking high doses can cause digestive upset, like diarrhea. It's always best to start with food first. If you suspect a real deficiency and are considering a supplement, especially if you have any kind of kidney disease, please talk to your doctor first to determine the right form and dose for you. We now have the on switch and the off switch. But what about the conductor of the whole orchestra? The mineral that ensures the signals between the nerves and muscles are clear, the fluid balance is perfect, and the entire system runs smoothly. That is our number 1 most overlooked culprit. And here we are. The number 1 hidden culprit behind your leg cramps and muscle weakness is a lack of the mineral potassium. It is the true, unsung hero of muscle function. Why is potassium so important? It is the master regulator. Potassium is an electrolyte, which means it helps conduct electricity in the body. It works in a delicate dance with sodium to manage the fluid balance inside and outside of all our cells, including our muscle cells. Most importantly, it is absolutely essential for nerve communication. It helps carry those electrical signals along your nerve pathways that tell your muscles precisely when to contract and when to relax. When your potassium levels are low, those signals can get weak, distorted, or full of static. This leads directly to the symptoms we're trying to solve: muscle weakness, deep fatigue, and you guessed it, painful, debilitating cramps. For years, the common wisdom we've all been told is, got a leg cramp? Eat a banana. And while it's true that bananas do contain potassium, the idea that they are the ultimate solution is one of the biggest myths in nutrition. A medium banana has a decent amount of potassium, but it's not even close to being the best source out there. Relying only on bananas to fix a potassium issue is like bringing a water pistol to a firefight. There are common, everyday foods that are so much more packed with this crucial mineral, and they are the key to truly solving the cramp puzzle for good. Your action step here is to broaden your horizons and look beyond the banana. Your mission is to start thinking about incorporating foods that are true potassium powerhouses. We're talking about things like beans and lentils, avocados, and yes, potatoes, especially with the skin left on. This is the final, crucial piece of the puzzle we've been building throughout our entire countdown. And the red flag for potassium is very important. The balance of potassium in your body is tightly controlled, and too much or too little can be dangerous. This is especially true for people with kidney disease, as the kidneys are responsible for regulating potassium levels. It's also a concern for people on certain blood pressure medications, like ACE inhibitors, which can cause the body to retain potassium. Therefore, any plan to significantly increase your potassium intake, especially through supplements, absolutely must be discussed with your doctor first. And with that, we've unmasked all 10 culprits. We can see now that it's rarely just one thing. It's a combination of lifestyle factors, potential underlying conditions, and most importantly, key nutritional gaps in our diet. So, the big question remains, how do we fill those gaps easily and deliciously? It's time for the grand finale. All right, we've done the detective work. We've identified that the three biggest nutritional culprits behind muscle cramps are often a lack of our three key minerals: calcium, the on switch; magnesium, the off-in switch; and potassium, the master regulator. Now, I'm going to give you three superstar foods that tackle these deficiencies head-on. And I promise, these aren't exotic, expensive, or hard-to-find items. They are right there in your local grocery store, waiting for you. Coming in at number 3 is humble, mighty spinach. Why? Because it's a fantastic natural source of both magnesium and calcium. Think of it as a 2-for-1 deal for your muscles. A single cup of cooked spinach, and cooking is key here because it concentrates the nutrients, gives you a huge dose of your daily magnesium needs, helping to power your muscles off switch. At the same time, it delivers a solid helping of calcium, the spark plug for contraction. Adding a side of cooked spinach to your dinner is one of the easiest and most effective things you can do to support healthy muscle function. Our number 2 food is delicious, fatty salmon. This is our primary weapon against sarcopenia and the protein gap we talked about earlier. A single 4-ounce serving of salmon packs a huge punch of high-quality protein, giving your body the essential building blocks it needs to defend and repair your muscle tissue. But that's not all. Salmon is also a good source of potassium, our unsung hero mineral. And it's famously loaded with omega-3 fatty acids, which are powerful anti-inflammatories that can help fight the low-grade inflammation that contributes to muscle breakdown as we age. It is a true muscle health superfood. And now for our number 1 top-of-the-list cramp-fighting champion. It is not the banana. It is the brilliant orange and delicious sweet potato. Here is why the sweet potato gets the win, and why it's the star of our show. It is a nutritional powerhouse that hits all 3 of our top mineral culprits in one single tasty package. A single medium-sized sweet potato, baked with the skin on, delivers a fantastic dose of potassium, far more than a banana. But it doesn't stop there. It also gives you a significant amount of magnesium and a helpful amount of calcium. It is the trifecta. It addresses the on switch, the off switch, and the master regulator all at once. It is quite possibly the most perfect anti-cramp food there is. So, as we've seen today, tackling leg cramps and building stronger muscles as we age isn't about finding one magic pill or a single secret cure. It's about becoming the detective of your own health. It's about understanding the signals your body is sending you. It's about making a series of small, intelligent choices every single day. Drinking that extra glass of water, taking 3 minutes to do those simple stretches, and most powerfully, putting the right fuel on your plate. The single most important message I want you to leave with today is this: you are the chief executive of your own health. You are in the driver's seat. These issues of pain and weakness are not an inevitable sentence of aging. They are conditions that you have the power to influence, manage, and dramatically improve, starting today. Now I truly want to hear from you. Which of these 10 culprits was the biggest aha moment for you? Was it the role of magnesium as the off switch? Or the idea of sarcopenia as the silent strength stealer? Please take a moment and share your thoughts in the comments section down below. I read every single one, and your stories and insights help our entire community learn and grow together. If you enjoyed this deep dive and you want more practical, no-nonsense content to help you live a stronger, healthier, and more vibrant life, be sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the little notification bell so you don't miss our next video. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. Here's to your health, here's to your strength, and here's to many, many more peaceful, cramp-free nights. I'll see you in the next video.